You're gonna be on live television.
on live television.
Go, Sean.
Good
Your
evening, everybody, and welcome to Punch Kick Choke Chat. My name is Sean Benson. I'm one of your hosts. There's four of us tonight because it's a host chat, and we love our guests, but boy, do we love our host chats. We're going to do a little intro, and then I'm going to help you understand how the night works if you're new here, because we want your questions, but we'll get to that in a sec. So we're going to do some introductions tonight that'll be just a kiss longer. First, I want to introduce Sensei Randy Dauphin. We were talking this morning, and I was chatting with some of my karate students, but also some of my acting students, and also some of my friends were just on very similar paths. And the one thing that everything in this world keeps paring down to for me is come back tomorrow. And Sensei Dauphin and I were talking about that this morning, which is, the old parable, which is, hey, my karate's going well. What do I do? Keep training. Hey, my karate's not going well. What do I do? Keep training. It's the same story I learned from him, and it's the same story I've been able to pass on. And so I just want to say thanks to him for helping me learn that and for being the guy when I was stuck out here in Toronto going to theater school and wasn't able to make it to see Hanshi Legacy. It was a little far.
I learned it from him on my screen.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're pointing at me, so definitely this is like the beginning of what is it? Eight is enough. Not eight is enough. What's that one called? Fuck. Oh God, my brain is gone. Anyways, I just want to say how beautiful like it is to just be 50 years old and go, just come back tomorrow. Sensei Nicolas Suino, look, I hate always bringing it down to something this simple, but this man introduced me to the ground arts, changed my life. But also, and I mentioned this on a show, probably about 6 months ago, he really helped me in some simple conversations unlock teaching my style. As in Sean teaching, not trying to imitate Sensei Dauphin or Hanshi Legacy. When in doubt, I'll do what they did. But he really helped me understand that my students will benefit most if it comes from me, if it's not a poor translation of them. But I really tonight wanted to say something about Hanshi Legacy, and that is going back to 1993. I did not have the type of guidance I needed. I wasn't a troublesome kid at that age. I was actually very clean cut, but I didn't know where to turn for answers, and I didn't know where to turn for structure that meant anything to me. School was fine, but it didn't count. And when I walked into that karate class night one, and I saw that man teaching, and I saw the respect he engendered, and I saw the way he gave thoughtful, deep answers, and the way he just, Hanshi Legacy, I don't think about us as having bonded till after I left Western, because I was still just showing up for class and leaving. But I can't express enough to you that my 3 years at Western, before we really connected, were so guided by your lessons and by the way you were as a man. And I just wanted to say that tonight because I actually called my old high school volleyball coach tonight. And I just thanked him for what he offered me. And I thought of you, Hanshi. I was like, I haven't said thanks to you in a while. So I just want to express that you know now, but you didn't know then how much it meant to me that you were just there teaching every Monday, Wednesday at the university. And it's what this young man needed. So I just wanted to start the show with that.
And before we move on, Benson never gets a lot of light shined on him. So let's say a couple of things about him. The thing I want to say is you hear him talk about going to his 12-step programs and going to AA. People who are watching this have no idea how deep in a hole he actually was. Most people could not have pulled themselves out of that. And while he didn't do it alone, he still did it. And how many years are we going on now, Benz?
We'll be 18 in October.
18 years in October. He's rebuilt his career. It's interesting. When he went to LA, he had two Porsches. He had a lot of money. He had a place to stay. He had all these things. He came back with none of those things. 18 years later, he's got two Porsches. He's got a lovely wife. He's got two houses. So listen, if you're watching and you're thinking you can't do it, you can do it. He's proof positive. I'm super proud of him. I'm super proud he's my friend too. And yeah. Anybody else, Sensei Legacy, you want to say anything about Sean or you, Sensei Suino?
I agree absolutely with what you said. You went through a very hard time, but he weathered the storm and he is still here. Like that's proof of the pudding, so to speak.
Keep showing up.
He's a good martial artist.
He's a great martial artist. Yeah. Sensei Suino?
Uh, we're blessed in life to have, all of us are blessed as martial artists to have a big tribe, a lot of people around us to see the world in the same way. But to really develop close friendships is such a massive blessing. And 18 years ago, I knew Sean through EIDL seminars, etc., a little bit of the legacy stuff. Now, uh, we have this great relationship. Run the show together. We see each other at seminars. We have great conversations. Um, and it's just a privilege and a blessing. And Sean, I'm so glad that we're on this ride together. And as far as I can tell, we're going to be on it for a while longer and do some more great things. So thank you so much. Uh, Brother, keep it up, man. Can't wait to see what we do next.
Thanks, Sensei. So before I go to the concept of the show, I really appreciate that. And also, I don't ever say this on the show, but if anyone's struggling with sobriety, DM me. If I can't help you, I will know someone who can. And
Yeah. And if you DM me, I'm just gonna make fun of you. So
So don't do it.
don't be a
it.
quitter. You're not a serious abuser of the substances if you haven't hit 30 years. On our host chat, everybody, if you're watching here on the Zoom and you're live with us, we got some people there. We want your questions, but what's a little different about the host chat is that we want to put the camera on you if you do it. We always say you get to be a part of this living history with your questions. On our host chat, you get to appear as part of it, not just have your thoughts put out there. So we'd love to hear from you. And if you're watching not in real time on YouTube or listening to podcasts, hit subscribe, hit like. What do we want to get into, gentlemen? Who wants to start? I got a few questions teed up. So I know that we all do every week we do this. So who wants to go first?
I will.
Great.
Okay. So the question I have for all of you, and we're going to start with Sensu Legacy, is out of the 10 questions, but it's actually, I think, the 11th question. It's the one that you throw in there, Ben. So, and I want to expand on it a little bit. So, if all of the martial arts didn't exist, which is the martial art you would go to and do, and why? Like, what is it about that art that I know, Sensei, you got to come up, make it up. I don't boxing. I don't care. Something.
Now, I think I would try Kyudo. It's just because I'm at the age now where I want something to calm my mind. And that's sort of part of the reason I do EI. EI is there is, at the time of doing EI, there's no real opponent. I mean, there could be, and it's in your mind's eye, but you get to relax and you should be relaxed. And EI, or excuse me, Kyudo, which is the bow and arrow, I guess that's what it's called. Yeah, I would like to try that. I've seen people do it, and it doesn't seem that excitable, but I'm looking for that calmness. I've been through the getting my nose broke and breaking my hands and stuff like that. But EI, I find that a bit appealing, except right now I've got bad knees. So I guess that goes along with my age. But I think Kyudo, you sort of stand still and you put your body under the control of your mind. And that's what I would do now.
Thanks. That's it. We just at Sensei Suino's dojo at the EMAF seminar. There was a couple of Kyudo instructors there, and for me personally, that lady was so patient. I told her she was such a good instructor, and she had all the stuff on and like did it like so nice. I could see you doing it, Sensei. I think it would be awesome for you to do that. Sensei Suino, that's a lot of martial arts for you to knock off your list and figure out.
Damn it.
You got to pick an art so no judo, no karate, no iaido, no jujitsu, no kyudo, because you've done that, right?
Mhm.
So let's hear it. Lawn bowling is not a martial art, so you have to pick something else.
I think I've answered this question on this show before, and my answer is the same. I think I would do Muay Thai. Uh, I just think it's cool. I've done kickboxing without the, Thai influence, just to a limited extent. But when I watch the Muay Thai guys that go into the UFC, I just love the way they move. It's a little bit unique compared to everybody else. They got these little kicks and angles and strikes. I love the way they train over there. I've always had a suspicion though, and this is maybe we can dig into this later. or if we get the right guest on, um, when you watch a Muay Thai fight, like a professional Muay Thai fight, those guys hit each other a lot. And nobody ever gets knocked out. I'm just exaggerating, right? So it's like they train really hard. They have incredible kicks, incredible punches. What's up with the no knockouts? Like, are they missing some power or something? I don't know the answer to that question.
Maybe they're too drunk. A lot of them drink a lot.
Do you remember on the Ultimate Fighter years ago? They had a visiting coach that came on, and he was hammered out of his mind, and he was dropping people, man. He was doing the teep kicks to the solar plexus, and that was crazy.
GSP brought him on. Yeah, these
Yeah,
guys were hitting him, and he just was letting them hit, and then grabbing
right,
them by the head and throwing
right.
them into the cage.
He felt no
That
pain,
guy was awesome.
And he
right?
was outside smoking cigarettes and drinking, and then coming back
That
in.
guy was so rad.
Yeah. I like your answer. Since the one thing I like about Muay Thai too is it does actually have a long history. Like, there's a long history with that martial art in that area of the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In all seriousness, I would love to someday, when I'm retired, when I'm 85, I'll try some Muay Thai.
Okay, so let's all picture Sensafino in a loincloth with broken
With
glass on his
the head
knuckles.
thing. Right. I want to wear the shorts though. Just saying. Exactly. Exactly. Where are we at? So Hanchi answered. I answered.
Benson is next. Yes,
All right. Sean
no BJJ,
Benson.
no karate, no Iaido.
Mhm.
Yeah. So listen, I feel like saying Muay because Muay Thai is my answer too. I do feel like it's a cheat because of how much it overlays with karate. I mean, we have elbows and knees in karate. We fight that kickbox style. I mean, but that's my answer because that's what I'd want to do. And honestly, I feel like saying judo's a cheat because of how much it overlaps with jujitsu. But those are my answers if I'm going back in time, not knowing anything I know. Now, I got to be honest, part of me just tonight, assuming I'm 50 and I'm starting and I don't know anything and I can't do the ones, I'm going to just throw out Tai Chi right now.
Mm.
I just, if I didn't do martial arts, I'd be doing yoga the way I do martial arts. And I think it's as deep and beautiful a practice, having done a fair bit, but not wanting to dedicate the time to it. And so I'm going to just go with Tai Chi for my non almost the same arts I do answer, but there's no world in which it's not Muay Thai or Judo. But I'm going with Tai Chi. It feels right to me tonight.
Love it.
Sensei Dofan?
I've answered this question before. I'm really fascinated with capoeira. I just think it's a super cool martial art. Um, it has a long history too. I like the athleticism of it. I like that it's a very deceptive martial art. Like I like the athleticism. Like you see those people doing the aerobatics, and you think it's all about that. But then when you see a maestro with somebody who's more junior and you see like the flip in the air, the thing actually happened before they did the flip. Like it's a really deceptive martial art, which I think is cool. And I like it kind of has a similar history um, to other countries' arts, right? Like those people who went there were subjugated, and so they were trying to hide their martial art and dance, right?
Mm.
So that the people who were controlling them would just let them dance and play music. And I don't know, I like the music too. The whole vibe of it like gets me jacked up when I hear that little stringed instrument and they're leaping around. I watch it on Snapchat. I follow a bunch of capoeira things and I just like watching it. It's just super cool, I think. Yeah. And I think I probably could have done it. And today I might be able to do like a somersault or something.
I love seeing, in the past when they show the training films of like GSP and Connor, right? Those guys did some capoeira. And it brings me to this idea that we kind of do in the Crucible and we kind of do at Fight Camp, but I would love to just carve out a week somewhere and do a 3 a day fight camp and try all of that shit, right? For, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at lunch, 2 hours at night. Do some Muay Thai, do some capoeira, do some classical boxing, do some wrestling. I mean, you'd be a wreck after a week of that, but what a cool week that would be, right?
That would be a super cool week.
Yep.
Interestingly, through Punch Kick Choke Chat, we know the people to like put us through that camp too.
I hear you talking.
Hey. This isn't bad. The like, I guess that's kind of what Capital Conquest is, but the like arts you've never done camp. You know, you can't do ones you've done.
Mm-hmm.
You're there for a week. That'd be pretty
Mm-hmm.
sweet.
That would be sweet.
Um, I got a fun question.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready. Let's start with you, Sensei Suino, but we're gonna then go to Hanshi and then you, Sensei Dofan. If you had to remove 90% of the training methods you employ, what 10% would you be left with and why?
Do I pick an art for this?
I mean, yeah, or you can go through the arts you do.
They're tough. Ooh, that's actually a really good question. Let me go right to judo.
Thought about it in the bath. Thought about you in the
Okay,
bath.
it's just that's all the I don't want any more image.
That's gonna start with you. I'm thinking about you in this ever since the
Woo!
bath, Sensei.
Yes, well, I hope the hot water was hot. Let's see, let's see. So I'm going to go with judo, and if I had to give up 90% of what I do in judo, I would stick with the uchikomi, right? Which is you stand with an opponent or partner, you grab and you set up a technique and come out. You set up a technique and you come out because there's so much digging and learning in there. You can go as deep as you want to go. You're just missing a little bit about timing and angles and speed, but yeah, I would forego everything else if I had to and just do the uchikomi. That's a great question.
That's a great answer. Like I'm really sitting thinking about how those setups give you almost everything, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Hanshi Legacy, what about you? You got 90% of all your karate's got to go away that you train or ideas you use to train. What are you left with?
I'm left with footwork and a punch. Yeah, there's nothing else you can say. It takes you 2 milliseconds. That's my new word. It takes you about a quarter of a second to deliver your technique. That's going to take a lot of it's going to take a lot of work for somebody to get in on that. If you only have that, you know what I mean? Whatever everybody else is doing will take more time, and it not likely will be more powerful, even though kicks are more powerful. They cover a lot of distance, and yes, there are great kickers. But for myself, being a small person, just my stances, my movement, and my punch.
We're all kind of nodding and smiling at this simple fucking
Okay.
wisdom of
Just
man.
look at Randy. Just look at the crest Randy's wearing.
Sensei Dofan, 90% has to go away.
Yeah, that's a good question, Sean. My mind initially went to I just would do basics, right? Like I would do my basics if I had to drop 90% of everything. But if we're just going, okay, so there's the 10 basics, then I'm going to give the same answer as Sense Legacy. I'm going to say it's going to be a punch. And I'm sorry, I just think the punch is the ultimate thing in all of martial arts because I defy you to find a martial art that doesn't punch or one that's not defending against it. I don't care what the art is. They don't want to get punched or they have a punch. And most of them have some type of a punch. So I'm going to say the punch because I think it's the ultimate. I tell people that all the time. If you got to defend yourself, learn how to punch. Like in a real situation, learn how to punch. If they grab you and you punch them and they don't let go, you punch them again and you punch them again and you keep punching them until they let you go or they're knocked out. Um, and I think, as Sensei has said, as a smaller person, for me, the other reason why I like the punch so much is because it doesn't matter who you are. If you get like tagged on the tip of the chin, I don't care how tall you are, how big you are, you're going to sleep if somebody who's good punches you. Um, And even if you're a big, huge, like, I don't know, who's that big, huge powerlifting guy who's getting into MMA now? Ed, the Beast,
Yeah, the beast.
right? So listen, I don't want that guy grabbing a hold of me or doing anything, but I still believe if he sticks his chin out and says, "Go ahead, Randy, give me one right there," he's going to sleep. When I connect with that shot, that's the end of that. And you can get a good exercise in and keep yourself in good physical condition by punching, right? moving around and punching, you can still stay in good shape, stay tight. That's my answer. Same as Sense Legacy, the punch.
Right on. I've been thinking about this while you've all been chatting, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if this is 10%, but I just wrote down, I just want to do Pinyin Shodan, the Naihanchis, Rohai, and Kusanku Dai. Uh, you know, I love grappling, but if I had to pare all my martial arts down to 10%, I'd be like, cool, that's a later addition. But I just love those kata. And I feel like that's about 10% if you take away sparring and basics and all that. And I feel like that would be a pretty good vibe for a lot of different moves and ways to move.
Well, that's a good answer. That's also a, if you're going to take 5 katas to a desert island, what would be the 5 katas you're going to take with you? And listen, there isn't actually a wrong answer to that because different people like are going to resonate with different katas because of body styles and stuff like that. But I like your answer, Benz. I've thought about that a lot. Which
I
5 katas would I take?
I got a semi-serious karate question and then not so serious question. So the semi-serious karate question is, what kata best encapsulates all of your karate, right? What is one kata? You can only pick one that's gonna let's cover like 99% of all the principles or fighting techniques or philosophy. So what is one kata that exemplifies karate for you and why?
Easy.
I okay, well, you're gonna go first. I don't want to give it to Hanchi first because he wrecks it for everybody else with his answers. So,
Honestly, in Shorin-ryu, for me,
uh-huh,
it has to be Kusenku. Like,
okay.
that's the one that when Matsumura learned it, the other katas all kind of spring out of that. Pasai katas, with the exception of, well, I mean, there's ones that don't spring out of it, but I mean, as far as the core of Shorin-ryu, I think it's, for me, got to be Kusenku, because that has a lot of the techniques from the Pasai katas and almost everything from the Pinyin katas, right? So, um, and as a matter of fact, in that book, which is behind me somewhere, there's a quote from Itosu that says, "If you knew Kusenku, why would you train the Pinyin katas anymore?" So
Nice.
that's my
I,
answer.
I don't know if you wrecked it for everybody. Sean, if you had to pick one kata, what would it be?
Do you know, it's funny, it wasn't on my list, but I've been thinking about this kata a lot lately. And for when you said your karate, like there's Legacy Shorin-ryu, and I do think Kusanku Dai is the right answer, but my answer is Wan Shu.
Oh,
I'll tell you, it's got combos, it's got a hidden technique, it's got kick to the groin, it's got a clear elbow up to the chin, and this is something I keep going on about with martial arts, it has a big throw at the end. And I think as a kata that encapsulates a totality of fighting karate, including WAP, I'm a big fan of Wan Shu for that.
Bad answer.
nice. All right, I'll give you my answer, and then I'll ask Hanshi. You know, it's funny. I was thinking through the Goju kata, and I think the most complex and interesting Goju kata are Seipai and Kururumfa. They got the most esoteric moves, and they're a little bit hard to do. But for me, if I had to pick one, it'd be the Seisan. It'd be the Goju Ryu version of Seisan. It's the oldest one. It's classic, and there's just something about when you do Seisan really, really well. You're centered in yourself in such a beautiful way. So it's interesting. It's not, it's like if you have two favorites and one is flashy and one is not, the Seisan is like my non-flashy core favorite of Goju. All right, Hanshi, if you had to pick one kata that encapsulates your karate or as much of it as possible, which kata would you pick?
Again, I guess I would have to agree that Kusanku would be right at the very top. What nationality was he?
He's Chinese, sensei.
Chinese, yeah. So, and you see there's flying kicks and everything in that. Um, so I would have to say Pasai Dai. Pasai Dai is at the core of your black belt or at the base of your black belt, and it's grounded and it has all the basic. The next one I would pick after that is, uh, except for the lack of range, would be Pinanidan because it's so simple that everything that you're practicing is over and over and over and over again. Plus, side eye gives you a bit more range, so that's why I picked that one. That's me personally, but everybody would pick, probably the majority would pick Kusaiku because it is like the father of other katas.
Isn't it crazy how, you can do kata for years. I don't know how good I am at them, but I can do all the kata and the Goju Canon. Um, uh, but today I taught a karate intro and I taught our first basic. It's kind of our equivalent of like the Taikyoku Shodan, right? We call it Kihon Kata Ich. It's created by Nobetsu Sensei in Saitama. And it's just, block, step, punch, turn in 5 directions. And it just felt so good to do
Yeah,
it at that speed and do each move carefully and kind of explain it to the person I was working with. Um, it's just crazy how like the most fundamental stuff can keep you interested for your whole life.
You had a second question, Sensei, that was less.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's very distinct in Japan, uh, what food and what alcoholic beverage goes with what martial art.
Mm.
I'll go into it a little bit when it's my turn, but the judo players migrate to a certain thing, the kendo guys and all that kind of stuff. So, Sean, I'll start with you. What's a food or beverage, but let's stick with food in your case if you want. What's a food that's closely connected to your karate training in your mind?
Ooh, what's funny, and this isn't the answer, but it's
you know, right?
with this. We had an all-day breakfast after training in the morning with Hanshi Sandoval, and I went and had steak and eggs. And then he goes, I'd like to see everyone fight. And we went
Yes.
back to the dojo and fought for a long time. And it wasn't a requirement. Not everybody fought, but I was young and I was like, I'm not taking a round off. And as I was fighting Sensei McLaren, I had to go into the bathroom above the convenience store and I vomited up all the steak and eggs and
Mhm.
went back out and kept fighting. And so honestly, I associate with my karate that moment, but if I'm being honest, it's Tim Hortons coffee is the only answer. It's
Mhm.
those mornings picking up Sensei Dauphin, or I'm going to his place and he's driving, and we're going to get Hanshi. And that was my formative years of really understanding what relationships in martial arts were, what consistency in martial arts was. I don't do the sugar anymore, but a Timmy's double double will forever be burned in my mind as the drink of karate for me.
Nice, nice, nice,
Did you,
nice.
excuse me, did you say, what was that question again? Could you,
What's a food or a drink that's closely connected to your martial arts training?
okay, not necessarily in Japan, right?
Yeah, no, just like
Okay,
I have kind of a hallmark food or drink for almost every martial art, and most of it came from my time in Japan. But right, there's just this cycle that you discover out of 1,000 times you train, 800 times you always eat this or you always drink that. So what do you got, Hanshi?
cut and dry for me, it's Rickard's Red and spaghetti.
That's post training, right?
I love spaghetti. We went to Japan. Randy and I went to Japan and ate spaghetti all the time we were there.
Mhm,
They made
mhm,
such good spaghetti, right?
mhm.
Yeah, when I went with Sensasuino, we tried to find the same place. We found it, but it had changed, and the spaghetti was not like when you and I were there.
Oh
Mhm.
wow. Yeah.
Hachi, I took my kid around to some colleges this weekend, and we went to Wilmington, North Carolina, just this little town, unremarkable in every way. And we wandered into this Italian restaurant, and spaghetti and meat. So if you ever go to Wilmington, North Carolina, I got a spaghetti place for you. It's
Write that down.
absolutely amazing, and
Yeah,
just a
great.
shock in this town. Yep, that's cool. Okay,
If you're
Rickard's
ever
Red.
on your way to Levy, Quebec, there's Wagyu Goza that you should
Oh
stop.
my God, were those good? Yeah, for sure. All right, Randy, what do you got? What's a food or a beverage that's associated, or both that are associated with martial arts training for you?
It won't surprise anyone. Well, I have to agree. I mean, I've consumed more Tim Hortons double doubles on my way to karate because honestly, a lot of times it's like I'm going to get Sense Legacy and I'm like out the door at 5 a.m. because I got to go pick him up at 6 a.m. And so I'm getting my coffee in me as I'm going, and then picking him up, and then we get another coffee, and then we go train. And then when it's done, you go for breakfast and you get another coffee. But I will say, I just like it, especially when you do a hard training session, like you fought, you whatever it is, rolling, sparring, and then you're done. I just like to have a nice cold beer, like just an ice cold beer. It's just so refreshing. And I think another reason why it's connected is because it feels like you earned it, right? Like it's not like when you just go buy a beer and drink it. It's like, no, man, I just burned like 3,500 calories. I earned this damn beer. Like I can drink this damn beer with no remorse or guilt. Not that I ever feel guilty about it.
I feel like I'm at the stage where in order to really enjoy food or alcoholic beverage, I got to do what you just described, right? Like the most guilt-free food is after 12 hours of the crucible, right?
I
Or after 5 days in the mountains. I'm like, okay, I can pig out now because otherwise, I don't know, it just feels like, overindulgence is going to lead to bloated stomach. I don't know.
so
I
what's
got
your
so, I got so many of these, and some of them from Japan. I'll give one that's kind of bittersweet. So, Sato Shizuya Sensei, who's my jujitsu and judo teacher at the American Embassy Judo Club, about once a month after practice, he would take us to this restaurant that was called Victoria Station in Roppongi, pretty close to the dojo, and he would say, "Victoria, let's go to Victoria," and they had like a buffet and this hamburger, and it was unremarkable. But there were two things about it. One was we're eating Japanese food all the time, right? So like Gage and I would go there and we'd sit with him and eat, and it was kind of a nostalgic food because it was a hamburger. And the other part was Sato Sensei never talked during meals or almost didn't talk. So it was this really awkward, like sitting there trying to be respectful, not talking, and watching him eat his hamburger with a knife and fork while we're trying not to wolf our food down too bad and then just have to sit around, with nothing to do. But forever, Saturdays after jujitsu class at the Embassy Judo Club, going to Victoria Station and having that hamburger is etched into my mind.
Sensei, so, I want to say one thing about you said that thing, and I have a Japanese food story or drink story.
Mm-hmm.
So Sensei Legacy and I went to a Japanese tea ceremony, like a legit, like a school. And there were so many things about it that were like extraordinary and so many funny things that happened. So one was we had to wear tabby socks. And if you don't know what those are like, and they had to be white. And so, those are the ones with the toe thing in them, right? And this starts with Sensei Legacy and are sitting next to each other. And Sensei, if you don't know, you can't tell from here, but Sensei Legacy has some fairly big hands, and his feet match his big hands, right? And he's trying to pull this tabby sock on, and he bumps me and goes, "Hey, what's this? It looks like a rabbit." And I look at his foot, and it literally looks like a rabbit with like these two giant ears sticking up. So then we go in and do the thing, and we're in Seiza. And these people are in like $10,000 gowns going through this very elaborate thing. And after like, I don't know, 35 minutes, Sensei says to me, I can't, he whispers, I can't stay in Seiza much longer, right? And my knees are like screaming, my ass is asleep. And for some reason, the master, the lady who was there, she was in her late 80s. She just all of a sudden looked over and she goes, guests are permitted to sit cross-legged. So then we kind of just fell out of Seiza and crossed our legs. But here's the thing I wanted to come to about the drink. So when it was done, they came out and they were going to get us to do tea. And so here's me, this guy Jin. I'm like 32, and I'm trying to hold this teapot and pour it into this thing, and I'm sweating like a pig, like it's just drug, and it's like spilling all over the tatami floor. And then this lady, really nice, who's trying to help me, she puts her hand on me. She goes, "You're very good." And I'm like I just like burst out laughing, right? I'm like, no, I can't even pour any of this stuff the way you guys did. Anyway, that's my story about food or drink in Japan.
That lady, just like that, that lady was a treasure of Japan.
Oh, geez.
You know what I mean? Like she was a treasure of Japan. She was an awesome lady.
Nice.
It looked like when she went into Seiza, it didn't look like she was going it like down to the earth. It looked like the earth was coming up to her when she went down in Seiza. Out of respect, the earth was coming up.
Like
Yeah, it
Chuck
was,
Norris doing push-ups.
Yep.
Anybody got a question they want to throw out, or shall I go? Hanchi, yeah.
yeah, my turn. Okay, I'm gonna turn to a bit of serious here. So, how do you think you are giving back to your style of martial art and guiding people to stay on it and preventing it from faltering during your years?
Who are you going to first, Sensei?
Who am I going to? Okay, Sensei Suino. I mean, I could answer it for you, but I want to hear from the inside because sometimes we don't know what the person's wishes are, right? We just, anyway.
Yeah. I say this all the time on the show that the long arc of martial arts bends towards service. And I feel like I'm at that stage in my martial arts career. I've been at it a long time. Um, I'm doing pretty well physically, but I'm definitely not where I was in my 30s. And uh, and where I feel like I make the most contribution right now is showing the value proposition, getting people in the dojo, getting them excited about it, making sure they understand not just the physical techniques, but also what it means to be the member of a dojo, both how you treat other people in the dojo and what that means in the world. Um, I feel like I'm kind of living that question that we ask, right? What's the greatest benefit? Greatest benefit is a tribe, is a positive outlook, is believing in something more than yourself. Um, uh, and so I want to teach the martial arts techniques according to my history, but the philosophy is one that allows us to become better people and build better communities. And so I don't know how well I live into that, but that's my vision for what I'm doing to keep my martial arts alive.
Good answer. How about you, Sean?
I was thinking right when you asked this question, like as far as my students go and as far as myself goes, I'm trying to make them the best fighters possible and then using that ability that they start to feel in themselves to inform their kata. Because these kata have to keep going or else the style doesn't exist. But the fighting has to be good, or else why would anyone want to do the style? And so I just think about it's sort of like a leapfrogging, like their fighting starts to get good. It's like, great, now let's look at our kata and what that does within the kata. And then their kata, and it's like, great, now let's use what we're learning in this kata. And so I just feel like that relationship between the journals, the kata, and the ability in real time in 2025 to take and give a hit so that nothing on the internet looks like bad karate, so to speak, because I do think karate suffered reputationally with the internet because of the UFC and everybody thinking kickboxing and Muay Thai is better than karate and not understanding that kickboxing is karate. But I also think there is a lot of karate that doesn't fight the way it needs to be something that people would want to do. And so for me, it's not fighting first, but it's fighting so much that then the kata becomes an expression of fighting, not just a dance that has no relationship to combat. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Right, Randy, you're up.
Sensei, this is a really serious question. I could pontificate on this for the rest of if you're asking me what I'm doing, I would start by saying I'm staying connected to my teachers, very strongly to my instructors and listening to what they're saying and internalizing that and trying to bring that into the dojo, and show my students that thing. Um, I'm trying very hard not to change anything. Um, Even so much, um, listen, I have my own thoughts about things, and when I'm alone, I train, but sometimes different ways, and I experiment with things. But when I'm teaching my students, I even try and use the same words that you or Sensei Suino would use because I think that was good enough for me. And so when new students come in, I want them to get that same experience and that same benefit that I've gotten. Um, I think I've tried very hard to promote Legacy Shorin-ryu outside of our clubs, to go other places and show the benefit of it and try and just demonstrate that this is a great art that we're doing on a physical level, a mental level, and a spiritual level. Um, and most recently in my martial arts journey is as long as I'm alive, Legacy Shorin-ryu is going to be alive. And Yamaguchi Sensei Z Ido is going to be alive. But man, I hope it needs to be alive beyond me. So I think maybe the greatest thing that I'm trying to do is just find other younger people and teach them that thing that I learned the same way, right? Like karate's here to change you. You're not here to change it. Um, so that one day I can just be a picture on a wall and somebody else is doing the same thing. That chain, that unbroken chain from Kusenku to Matsumura to Itosu to Funakoshi to um, you know, Richard Kim and Anthony Sandoval to you and then to me is going to continue on to somebody else to keep things going. So that's my answer. And again, I could go on for a really long time about this. I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Most people are aiming to do the same thing. So I wrote an answer in case people wanted me to. I was saying basically the same thing. I'm working at assuring the public that classical martial arts are second to none. There's a lot of different types of karate, and like MMA and different things like that are great. There's place for that and everything, but without the classical arts, none of that would be there. And other things just have bits and bites of that. I'm trying to show that classical martial arts are deeper, safer, more educational, good, better for the body, mind, and spirit. And just going a little bit further and being more like an apostle. I'm trying to convince everyone that karate has more than what is presented nowadays. There are things that are missing. Say we know where I'm going with this from. There are no katas from a fourth dan to a 10th dan that can be called, this is a fourth dan kata, this is a fifth dan kata. There are none. It's empty because there's something missing there. And I believe I hunted it down and I'm trying to awaken the martial arts world so that I can present that to them and let them make their own judgment, but at least allow me to make that connection for them or let them know. So there are a lot of things that I had questions for in karate and Shorin-ryu karate and had no answers. And you know as well as I do, Randy, we went to Sensei Sandoval and some of the things that no one understood. I asked them. No one knew it. Top guys that we know in Canada, top guys in the United States. And as soon as I asked those questions to Sensei Anthony Sandoval, he gave us the answers and they all fit in place. So it's tough to tell somebody that there's something else and they're a higher ranking dan and don't want to be a student anymore. They don't believe that it's there without giving it a fair chance. The unfortunate thing is it takes more than one class. It takes years to really. It doesn't take years to recognize it, but it takes years to master it. So Randy gave me a good way to look at it is to teach the upcoming masters, the generation after us to be able to pick that up and bring it into the future. Because say somebody my age started to take it, they wouldn't have enough time. But it's there. So
That's
that's
a
my
that's a good question, Sensei, for you. I have a question for you on that. Um, like let's just throw the ranks out for a second. And, and I would ask you, when do you think the optimal age, like how much karate experience should somebody have before they start doing White Crane? And then, um, like, or do they even need karate experience? Like, where should they be in their journey before they start trying to delve into that?
Well, Fetchy Sandoval told me not to teach White Crane to anyone who was not at least not a black belt, because you need that experience in order to be able to handle White Crane. Like, just imagine you're a karate black belt and you're trying to get in to punch a guy. You can't just walk in there, he's going to punch you in the face, you know. So you need to learn ways of getting to the inside. So I sort of equate it to trying to step to the inside and poke a guy in the eye. You can't just walk in and poke him. He's going to knock you away. So you have you have to have that basic fighting experience so that when you're moving soft, you still have the strategy and the know-how. And because all it is then is like White Crane is a nerve destroying art. Like when you get hit by a White Crane martial artist, they're not going to have the movement of their arm. They could even die if you hit them in the right place. They're not going to have movements in their legs because it's going to sever the nerve. So that was one of the reasons you don't see it with young persons, because it's really, really dangerous. So I start teaching the first 4 exercises to a shodan and a nidan and a sandan. And then after 4th dan, when they have that renchi or the entry level mastership, then you can almost rely on the person being sensible enough not to use this on other human beings, because you're teaching something that is even deadlier than karate. So you need a lot of experience, a lot of being calm. You can't. It's like having a gun. You're more careful with a gun because it's deadliest. So that's the type of thing it is. It's extremely dangerous. Hardly anybody knows it, because before Sokan Hohan died, it was a secret. That's why Funakoshi went to Japan. Funakoshi left because when Matsumura was teaching a White Crane to Itosu, he would sneak up and hide and look through the fence. And this is the story I got. And they would just stop. So he got pissed off, and his wife and they went to Japan and taught Shotokan. So they had all the Shorin katas, which they renamed as a Shotokan style, and nothing after that. It's just.
So I have a question I want to use that you just talked about, Hanshi, but I want to springboard for everybody into the idea of mastery. Does learning and becoming what we'd call a master compress after you've effectively become one? So what I mean is, Sensei Dauphin, you're a karate master. Does then you learning something new still take the same amount of time, or does it fold into what we'll call a mastery in a way that accelerates the learning? So this isn't about Crane, this is about anything.
Are you asking me this?
Well, I'm going to start with Sensei Dauphin, but we'll come back to you. But it's your idea springboarded me into this thought, which is, so let me ask you, Sensei Dauphin. So when someone becomes what we'd call a master, and then they learn, let's say, is it going to take you 35 years to become a BJJ master, or does the mastery tend to compress because you've already got that door open within yourself?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer it really well. I would say, let me answer it this way, because I'm not master of karate, master of iaido, whatever that is. One thing I think I'm good at, and maybe I've mastered, is learning, like being a student. I think
Yeah.
I think I've mastered being a good student, getting myself to show up, going back to your thing, Sean, right? I've mastered bowing onto the floor. I know I need to pay attention. I I know I then need to go and train it and work it. So I guess I have the formula to learn faster maybe than people around me, right? And that formula is given to me through the art of learning from Sensei Legacy Karate and then learning Iaido from Sensei Suino. When I go to BJJ, I'm often noticed by my coaches as being a person who doesn't sit in a unstructured position, um, who doesn't talk to people while the coach is talking, who doesn't screw around and laugh, who pays attention, and then when it's time to get at it, gets at it in a thoughtful way, and until you don't have to think really about it anymore. So I know what the formula is to get myself to the place I need to be, right? The formula is pay attention, get yourself on the floor, pay attention. When it's time to get to work in a thoughtful way. And when I say a thoughtful way, I mean like sometimes mechanically, right? You got to think to not think. I guess that's my answer, and I don't know if that's a good one or not. And I don't know if I've answered your question, but um,
You know, we don't normally have the person who asked the answer, but you just springboarded where I was going to go with it is I don't know if I'm a master of anything, but karate taught me how to learn. I learned how to learn in the martial arts. I didn't in school. The pathway that I learned is the pathway of learning. So I'm kind of with you on that sense. Say like, who knows what the new number is for the new art, but I do think the time compresses. What about you, Hanshi Legacy? Once becoming a master, does other mastery sort of accrue more quickly?
Okay, so in my opinion, okay, when you're a white belt, you ask less questions because you don't know anything. And then when you become a black belt, you ask more questions and the relative questions to your moving along in rank. So with me, um, it's if that's why when you go to a fourth dan, then you're more enlightened in the martial arts. You've had more experience, more questions come up, and you dig deeper into the martial arts for yourself, and you're actually rediscovering the art.
Mm,
The sense is not just saying, "Okay, this is an isometric, and you're doing this and that." You're actually getting the questions that's necessary for you to become a better martial artist because you feel that void that needs to be filled, right? So, and the relative questions, like I said, learning and discovering is what's supposed to happen, not sitting there listening to your sensei. Oh yeah, the sensei said this. That doesn't mean you learned it. Doesn't mean you know how to do it. It doesn't mean you understand it. So if you just sit there and ask no questions, that's because as a white belt, you didn't you didn't progress, you didn't learn how to learn, like you are saying. And it's all what triggers inside of you. Your sensei's job is to start making you ask questions. And that way, instead of beating around the bush for 5 or 6 years, you ask the direct questions that you need, and that starts getting filled for you. And even when everybody thinks they're a big shot, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and or 10th Dan, um, they're not asking questions, not the intelligent questions, then something is wrong.
Sensei Suino, where do you go with this?
Yeah, I think I agree with what's being said about learning how to learn. I got two thoughts on this. One is I think we all have inherent physical limitations. We're better at some stuff, not better at others. I think we can get philosophical mastery of a second or third martial art. but there's no guarantee we can get physical mastery of a second or third martial art because sometimes we just have limitations. That's just how we're wired. We're built funny. We're aging. So realistically, uh, I'm not sure we can master more than sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But you've got some gifts and you have to live within those. The other part of it is just simple physical idea. When Randy was talking about having learned how to learn, um, all of us have learned how to
Here's my bench.
have learned how to do hard work and not unduly suffer in it, right? Every one of us, if called upon to do so, could do lots of repetitions of stuff, take a lot of round kicks to the thigh, do hundreds of push-ups. Um, so that's a means towards mastery, right? Because a lot of times to get from beginner to advanced, you have to suffer. And if that's an impediment to you, if you're not good at doing the work, you're not going to get there as quickly.
So we're gonna ask Sensei Conroy Copeland, the fifth Beatle, to come on our show right now because he just asked a question that could blow this whole combo out of the water or could help define it.
I'm asking him to start his video. Oh, there he is.
There it is.
Hey,
Sensei.
Oh no, what happened?
You're there. We
Am
hear
I?
you. Yeah, we hear you and see you.
I don't see you. What happened? Hang on. I'm so. Oh, there we are.
Yes.
Fantastic. This is nice to see you guys. Interesting conversation. Wow.
what's your question? We love this question's phenomenal.
Oh, so my question was, how do you know when someone is a master? Because master sometimes is thrown around, for a variety of different reasons, and lots of people like to be considered themselves as a master. But how do you know when someone is a master? And who says okay, yeah, you're a master?
They show up on Punch Kick Choke Chat. The screen pops on. They're in a white karate gi. They have a great bald head. That's how you know. I'm telling you right now, this is how you recognize them.
Listen, that's
They
what
do
happens
a
when
little
you
with
come.
their video, but that's not the mastery we're talking about.
This is what happens when you come out of a class and you want to get to the punch kick choke chat before it's over.
Sensei, who do you want to send that question to first?
Well, I want to start with Sean first because he's got the intuitiveness to. I think Sean wants to be a master, but I want to know how he projects this to be. How is it going to happen? How is he going to know when this is?
He is a master, but
I know that.
You just have to put Bader on the end of it.
Come on, man.
Sensei Copeland, I want to say that everything Sensei Dauphin just said is absolutely true. And we're not going to go down that road, but
Okay.
I will not disagree with my sensei on this call right now. Look, I appreciate you asking me this. I don't know. I know it when I see it. I know it to follow it. I had a ballet teacher when I was a child who taught me for 10 years, and she was a master. She had been, on the stages in England as a teacher. And so without knowing, I was learning at the hands of a master, or in her case, feet. I was. So when I saw Hanshi Legacy, I didn't say that's a master, but I knew I was in the presence of a master. And so, to be honest, I was lucky enough as a child to be put at the feet of one. My mom took me down there, signed me up with the best person in town for classical mastery. That's the only answer I can give you, is that at a young age, before I knew what it was, I knew what it was. And then I can feel it in others. I've sat with acting teachers who are not masters. It's not that their info's a little wrong. We all make mistakes as teachers. It's that they don't inhabit the being in a way that the thing they're trying to do is they don't inhabit it, so it is separate from them. There's a veil. And I'll give you an explanation, Sensei, and then I'll pass on. And I'll use an acting example. Back when I used to try and be a good actor, I'd create a concept of Hamlet, and then I'd try and cross the distance to become Hamlet, and there'd always be a distance between me and the idea. And when I finally got to be a master actor, which I know I am. It was when I ceased to let there be any veil between me and the performance. There might be an accent, there might be whatever, but I'm inhabiting every aspect of it. There's no lie, there's no performance. And I think that's what a master is in the arts as well. There's no difference between them and the art. Um, that's that, I think I'll just leave it there. I could talk about this a lot, but I think that's it. I think when the person just is the thing and isn't seeking, they might seek knowledge within it, but they've gotten past the veil.
Okay, thank you. You always have perspective, which is very interesting. Sensei Dauphin.
Well, this is an opinion question, not a factual question. So we're all allowed to have our opinions. They're
Every
educated.
question is an opinion question.
No, if I said, what year was I born? That's not an opinion. It's 1971. That's a fact.
If you ask me that,
Yeah.
I would guess, but just based on your, your hairline, your cheeks, but I'd probably be off.
Right. I'm saying that sometimes you get asked a question that you can be wrong about completely. 1 + 1, if you say 4, you're wrong. It's 2, right? But when you're asking me, how do I know somebody's a master? This is an opinion. This is my opinion. So I think I like what Sean said last most, which is, where does Conrad Copeland start and karate stop, or where does karate it it doesn't. Like, you can't, you are karate and it is you. And I think that's one of the key things that makes you a master. So you have to know that thing on a very, very, very deep level where it actually becomes you. Like, you are it and it is you. Um, I think I recognize it when I see somebody do something that is super, super hard and they make it look so easy, like anybody can do it, right? Like, you watch Sensei Suino do Iaido, it looks like anybody can do it, and then you try and do it and you can't. Like, you're sweating, the sword falls out of your hand, you're holding it backwards. Like, um, I think another thing that denotes mastery is serious commitment over a long period of time, like maybe your entire life, right? You come in and then you never step away from it. Um, so that would be another measure of mastery for me. And then the ability to pass it on, right? If you have that in that way, you have it so ingrained in you and you can pass it on to other people where they are now ingraining it in themselves. I think that's also a measure of mastery. So I don't know if I'm right about any of that stuff, but those are my thoughts when you ask the question.
Cool. Thank you. Sensei Suino?
I always layer this other quality on there if I'm thinking about the term master, which, by the way, I'm very uncomfortable with, because of the way it's overused, as you said, Sensei Copeland earlier. But I'm going to layer it on. There's technical skill, right? There's people of incredibly high technical skill, great fighters in karate and great judo players, etc., who aren't masters, because there's this other quality of people, right? My opinion, when I think of a master, I think of somebody who inspires this sense of awe, like the quiet, um, the gravitas, right, of the person. I know Hanshi saw that in my teacher Yamaguchi Sensei when he saw him training. I've been really lucky. One of my judo teachers, Tabata Sensei, had that quality. My teacher Yamaguchi Sensei. Uh, we know Ryushin Shoichi-ryu, the predecessor teacher Kawabata Sensei had that. Nobetsu Sensei, who taught karate, had that. That other quality. You look at those people and you just say there's something to them beyond their martial arts skill, and they are inspirational, but in a quiet way. When I think of the word master, I think of that, right? Technical skill plus this other something, this other aura. And yeah, that's what it takes for me.
Thank you. Anchi, your thoughts?
I do. Okay. To start with, we have a foundation. Classical karate, you have a lineage to the very beginning of martial arts. And the knowledge handed down from each one forward creates a certain style, and that certain style has a certain standard. You know, it's a lot like being a professor. How can you tell when a guy's a professor or a master of whatever he's teaching? Well, he has passed all these certain standards, tests, time and age, and it's all handed down through them. It's like when I went to I think it was Boston or somewhere where I met Sensei Sweeto. I met his sensei, and I couldn't leave his ring. I was just drawn to him but that's I don't know what it was, Samora, or it's just that calmness, I guess, or but how I could say how is by the standards set in the classical style. They have certain standards and tests that you must pass and prove in order for you to be accepted in that style as a master. And that's why, you get kids that are 11 years old wearing black belts. What the hell is that? you know, when you get a black belt, you're an expert in 10 basics. That's it. That's how long that takes. What should take in my dojo, I asked Setsi Dauphin, how long does it take to get a black belt in my dojo?
8 to 10 years.
Sometimes, yeah. Some have been earlier because they were gifted, right? So the standards is also you see guys that are. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you asked me. You see guys that are like 35, 40 years old wearing a red belt. Like, what is that? Like, you need to be, according to Richard Kim, who was a master that I taught under, you should be around 70 years old to get a red belt. You know, to get a 10th Dan, I'll put it that way. You can get a red belt when you're 61 or 60 years old. Those are the standards. Those are the real standards. So I often question looking at these guys with black hair and they have like two white ones sticking out somewhere, and they're like seventh and eighth dans. You ask Randy, like he's one of the better martial arts around our world today. And do you think he's going to ask me for a grading before 8 years? Like he's a seventh dan. Now he wants to be an eighth dan. It's going to take him 8 years. And that's the very earliest you can get. So that's what's going wrong is the mishandling, because the masters of certain schools are really not masters themselves. They just don't understand. They don't have the internal makings of a master, because they just want to make sure they get a lot of black belts in their dojo. They want to make sure they got a lot of red and white belts so they look good. That's all bullshit. You know a guy, you just look at him and you can tell, oh, the guy's got black hair and he's like 39 and he has a red belt. He thinks he's strutting his stuff out there. I'm shaking my head inside. So there is a way, there's a specific way, and it's through classical karate. The standards have been set. It's a legacy. It's been handed down over the years. And as the new master gets it, he puts the modern day, he makes sure that the modern day equivalent to that master from all the ones that came before him is put in place.
Sensei Copeland, where do you go with your own question?
Well, I know who a master is not. The person who, that part's easy. The person who's telling everyone that he's a master, they're not a master, a master of nothing, really. But when we have respect for the classical art and we've, spent, blood, sweat, and tears in the classical art, you can appreciate someone who is considered a master. And like you've all said, you can kind of tell and feel. When I first met my sensei, Terry Chinen, I was at a seminar, and I'm practicing, against the wall. I'm warming up before the seminar started. Yeah, he's teaching the seminar, and for some reason, I wasn't doing like Sensei Dolphin said. I wasn't talking and socializing with the other people in the seminar. I was warming up, getting ready because I came to practice. I became his uke that day at the seminar. We've never met before, but he called me up, and my thought was, I want to train with him. And that was the first time I met him. Then he said, come to Spokane. And one of the other black belts said, usually he says, come to Spokane. Most people don't go to Spokane. And Spokane was my next trip. Every summer, 1 week, summer gashuku, it's cleaning out the pipes. You go and you tell yourself, I'm never coming back. And as soon as you leave, you make plans for the next trip, on and on and on and on. I didn't think of anything else about him besides the fact that this is amazing. This is fantastic, and it was easy for me to gravitate towards him because he was quick, soft, smooth. He explained, everything about him was what I was looking for. So I was able to tell that he was a master, even though he never said not once that he was a master. And from my perspective, based on the respect and the amount of hard work that I knew it had to take to be that good, I was gonna be his student. And that's how that all happened. I came, and then that was the end of that.
Masters don't let the train track stop them from getting to the dojo.
I love that. That's from such an early episode. Sensei Copeland, before we let you go, I hope you don't mind me doing this, Sensei Suino, but I want to shine the light on you for a sec.
On who?
On Sensei Suino.
Okay.
But it's about this question. Sensei Suino, no one on this call would doubt your mastery, but you don't love the title. Can I ask why? I know you said it's overused, but is that the only reason, or is there something? Is there a humility? What is it?
I think all of you would agree with me that as soon as you start feeling like you're a master, you're probably already falling off the train tracks, right? And all of us can get into a martial arts setting and recognize that we've made a lot of progress in our martial arts career. And you can beat up on the white belts or the blue belts or whatever. But I don't think any of us feel you wouldn't be on this call if you thought you were done, right? So mastery, I don't know. I've been using the word artisan lately. Really good at my craft compared to a lot of other people. Mastery always suggests like that mythical, Kung Fu Panda end of the road thing. That's why. That's why I got a lot more work to do, and I can see it, right? I can see it. Isn't it funny that you stay in this game long enough and you go so far from where you started, and you realize that the upside is much bigger than you ever imagined, right? Every percent you get bigger, the world gets 10% bigger for you to try to grow into later. It's impossible to get to the finish line.
Yeah, the other thing, Sensei Suino, is if you asked Yamaguchi, if you said, "Oh, Master Yamaguchi," he'd probably say, "Don't call me that."
Well, for sure.
If you said to Chinen Sensei, "Oh, Master Chinen," he'd be like, "Don't call me that." Like they would not want to be referred to in that way. And Sense Legacy has said something on this call often. The greatest title you're ever going to have is student.
Yeah.
And probably most of those people felt that I'm just a student of the arts, even though maybe their sense is not there. They're like, yeah, I'm still just trying to learn and get better.
If I could add something here, is most people feel that way up to most of us likely, is that your faults. Nobody else does. Your deepest down failures, and what you're not good at, and what you realize what you don't know. Whereas other people, when they look at you and see you perform, you're always performing at your best, you're always prepared. And so they see you in a different light. You see yourself and the reality, what you don't know. You hate to be called a master because you know that there are certain things that you can't do, etc. So that's hard for most people, but I never called myself that, right? My sensei gave me my belt, and he's in a lineage right from Matsumura himself all the way up, and you have to trust your sensei. Once you pick your sensei, you listen to him, you do what he says, you never step in front of him, you never talk when he's talking, stuff like that. So we put our life, we are servants, but there are master servants. And so if you look at it that way, then you can sort of accept that fact that by saying that you're a master doesn't mean you're the god of gods, but you're just good at your art. That's all.
Somebody respects what you do, they will call you the master. No one, you don't have to call yourself a master. They will say that's a master just based on what they do. For us, it's the iceberg philosophy. It looks big on the top, but it's much bigger on the bottom.
I'm working on that.
Thank you very much for answering my question. I appreciate it.
Always happy to have you on.
Thanks, Sensei.
Love you guys. Have a good night.
You too. Love
Good
you
night,
too.
my friend.
Sensei Suino, if I could throw it to you. So what we're going to do, everybody watching, is for the last little bit, we're going to ask each other some of our favorite 10 questions, because we don't tend to get to answer these much, although we've all been asked them at a certain point, but that was ages ago. Sensei Suino, what's a 10th question you want to throw around the horn?
Boy, I loved the if your martial art didn't exist question. I want to go back to if there's a martial artist in all of history that you could train with, and it can't be the person you already said, if you remember. I don't know, some of those episodes have been a long, like 5 years ago, right? But um, Randy, if there was a martial artist in all of recorded history or unrecorded history that you just happen to know the name of, that you could train with. And in fact, I'm going to add a stipulation. They have to be passed away.
I'm glad you added it, because I would answer it the same way I answered it when you asked me the 10 questions.
You can't. It's not allowed.
I know, but I just want to say I'm really happy with the people I'm training with, because, we idolize these people, rightly so, right? Like, we idolize these people, and I'm not saying we shouldn't. We should. But we also project onto them things that we don't actually know, right? Like, we project onto them that they're this and that, you know. And I'm not going to mention any names, but you could go back and be super disappointed, right? You could go stand in front of that person and go, man, you suck. Like, you're just, and I would use Sense of Legacy's analogy, right? Where you take somebody from the NHL today and you send them back and put them into 1900, like, they probably would still want to train with Howie Morenz or do hockey with him. But so I'll answer your question though. So who are some of the people that I would really like to have trained with or met or interacted with? And they got to be dead. So because I've interacted with some really cool ones in the last 30 years. If it's weapons art, I gotta say Miyamoto Musashi. Like, if it's a sword thing, like, I just gotta train with that guy. Um and it's less about like him having a sword or necessarily how he did his sword. It's more about the way he thought and his philosophies about martial arts, and yeah, not 10,000 cuts, 10,000 cuts properly, right? Like 10,000 correct cuts, not do it 10,000 times. So Musashi would be one. I'm just so curious about him. Um, and then, Kel Surprise, I'd really like to see Matsumura or Itosu, or, um, I just really would. I'd like to do Kusenku with Matsumura. It would be so nice to do Kusenku with Matsumura. I love for him to be able to show me Hakutsuru die and see, like, it's curiosity thing for me, right? Like how much has it evolved? How much has it changed? I don't necessarily know that there'd be some like groundbreaking thing that I would learn from them that I'm not learning from the people on this call. I'd love to see how it's changed and evolved, and just their thoughts on it. Are they the same? I think one thing that would be different is obviously the political times of that era are going to cause the thinking to be different than they are today, right? So Musashi could just cut somebody in half, right? Matsumura could just he was in a privileged position where you know if he wanted to like whip his sword out and cut your arm off, he wasn't going to suffer much of a consequence for that. So it would be interesting to hear them talk about those things.
Very cool. Hachi, what about you? If you could go back and train with any person in recorded history, who
I
would it be?
initially said Matsumura, but um, I love my arts, and I love the masters in it. So I'm almost ditto Randy over there. We knelt on Matsumura's grave. We we knelt at Itosu's grave. We knelt at the grave of the 47 Ronin. We the only place I haven't went, and today, or excuse me, this time we were just in Vancouver, and we were planning a trip to Japan, Okinawa next year. And I really would like to go to Miyamoto Musashi's. Like, he was, oh, sorry, he was a great warrior, great innovator. Everybody looks at him like Toshiro Mifune, but he was just a little bald guy and he must have had this powerful mind to face all those. He was also really smart. Sometimes he just outsmart them, but those making it simple, those would be the guys. Like when Randy said um, Matsumura and Itosu, like that grabbed my heart. It just made me feel so good about it. And then Musashi, who is outside of our art, but it was so great, is something that you did appreciate.
Very cool. Sean, if you could go back and train with any martial artist in recorded history who must be passed away, and if I don't know if you remember any answers you may have given us previously,
I
this should be a
do.
different one.
Yeah, no, at the time I said I'd like to train with the Tosu, but the reality is I'd like to just train with my teachers because I don't have enough time with them. That's how I phrased it the first time. Honestly, sorry everybody, you're gonna wish you said my answer. No, you're not. But if we're talking real training, I want to train with Muhammad Ali.
Mm,
I want Muhammad Ali and me to, I want him to show me how to do what he does.
amazing.
I'd love to say Kano, but I'd rather train with Muhammad Ali. And if they were alive, I was going to say Prime Hickson, like when he was MMA Hickson. But he's still alive. So, I think I got to go Muhammad Ali today.
That's a great answer.
There
Yeah,
is.
I'm kind of jealous.
You could say, what's your answer?
Well, I think I answered Yamaka Teshu when I first answered. It's kind of my martial arts hero. Um, I got two answers. I always have a lot more to say than I probably should, but my straight answer is Mifune Kyuzo, the greatest technician to ever come out of the Kodokan, and just an absolute artist in judo who created many of the most extraordinary techniques and had the what I believe is the ultimate judo, which is ultimate without strength, right? All speed, lightness, perception. But it's interesting you guys mentioned Miyamoto Musashi. Of course, I would like to train with him, but I would like to train with Miyamoto Musashi's adopted son, who, for the following reasons, the reasons why we're on this show and why we always talk about our early days in the martial arts. Can you imagine the stories that kid has of living in Miyamoto Musashi's house and watching him train and being dragged along to these junkets and watching him fight. You know, they had a relationship and a falling out and a reuniting and everything, but he has the same kind of stories we do about each other and about our teachers, right? Of you know, sitting in the back of the you know, what rickshaw and listening to the masters talk, right? Or listening to Miyamoto Musashi describe a battle he just had, right? He helped nurse Musashi back to health after Musashi fought with Yoshioka, right? One of the most famous fights he ever had. So for that reason, like not because I necessarily think he was the greatest martial artist of all time, but think about the insider knowledge that guy must have had, right?
Sensei, I know you have another. Sorry, Hanchi, go ahead.
Okay, can I ask you just a really short question? Have you ever heard of Udaigiri Ichian and Hirya Sikian?
You asking me?
Yes,
Doesn't Richard Kim make reference to those guys?
yes.
Yeah, that's where I heard him, I think, in one of Richard Kim's books. But outside of that, no, I have not.
No, I just want to know if he was famous like that. Okay.
Probably in some circles, but not the Tom Cruise level of martial
Yeah.
arts fame. Sorry, Sean, you had a
Oh,
question?
I just know Sensei Dofen might have had another thought on this.
Yeah, I want to revise my answer a little bit because I could say two names. Actually, I would love to have trained with Yamaguchi Sensei. Like, obviously, in my mind, that would be amazing. If I could spend some time training with him, that would be crazy. But maybe more than anybody, I would love to spend time with Benny Allen. He's lived in my mind um, a lot as both an inspiration and a regret. And man, I just really would love to have trained with Benny Allen. I always ask Sensei Legacy, do you think he would have liked me, Sensei? Do you think he would have enjoyed having me around? Like, would I have gotten along with him? I think about him often. I look at his picture. I name my son after him. I named my son after a person I never met once, right? So, um, Benny Allen would probably be the number one person that if I could spend time training with, he'd probably be the one. Because Suino Sensei said they got to be dead. So sadly,
Sadly.
that's my answer. That's my revised answer.
Love it. Folks, time is real. And we don't like what a great question, Sensei Suino. That really kicked us off into a beautiful thought pattern. Let me just pull up the names of all the wonderful people who help with this show. I should have them memorized by now, but I apologize that I don't as you watch me scroll. Thanks, Robert Schlumsky, Justin Shea, Andrei Sadashev, Josh Kitchens, Cristiano Landel, Dridi Giuliani, Stavros Stavroulias, and Emily Ruth Driscoll for helping run this show behind the scenes. We'll do a little around the horn, Hanchi. What do you want to say about our host chat?
Hey, these are the best. Not that we don't appreciate the new ideas, new thoughts, and the new. Well, we always come up with some. We dig deeper because we have, you know, we don't have to pay more attention to someone else who deserves it, but we just dig deeper inside of ourselves to and ask those questions. Like I was saying, when you're a white belt, you ask less questions. When you're a black belt, you ask more. When you're fourth dan, you ask more. We ask more questions. That's people out there may not have the understanding to ask, and so we sort of give them previews of things that are to come. These
Thanks. They're fucking great. Sensei Suino?
Oh man, love this. You know, it feels like even though the questions moved around in different places, there's kind of a core or a theme to the whole show. I think if people watch it, they're gonna feel that. Super fun. It went like that. Man, we just barely got started. So yeah, what can I say? Loved it. I love these host chats.
Thanks, Sensei. Sensei Dofan?
Yeah, I love doing this. So my thought is lately, I was even talking to Sensei Legacy about this out west. I'm just like, I can't believe my life. Like I'm just, I can't. Sensei Legacy said something to me before. He said, you know, when you're a martial artist, it's kind of like living the life of Robin Hood. There's a lot of adventure, and you get to, and he's so right. It's just so cool. Like being with all you guys and the people that I've known now for decades and decades. And as I look at the call, the people we have on, like Sensei Panekia and Sensei Maletsky and Kanispel and Copeland, and it's just so cool. Like it's just I got to pinch myself over and over again. And then the reality is this is the blessed life that I'm living with all of you. So that's my parting thoughts.
Thanks. That's it, Ofa. Blessed life indeed. I pinch myself too. I can't believe I get to do this with you three. And also what you just like, it flew by. There's no topic we couldn't have just gone on entirely, but it really did, like you said, Sensei. Just I love the flow, Sensei Suino, of tonight. Just felt like each question teed up the next. And anyways, I'm really grateful to be a part of this. And Sensei Dofan, why don't you say goodnight tonight?
Yeah, thanks everybody. The people on the call who are on the call right now, and the people who will watch this who maybe couldn't be on the call, just thanks so much for being part of this with us. It's so cool. This is a shared history, whether you're on the screen or not. It is a shared history, and I'm really proud to be doing this with all of you. That's my final thought.